Hello everyone, this is Joy Garcia and
Zen Garcia.
Yep, and we are starting this short series just to have a book of the month to get you familiar with our books and our products in general. So I'm just going to go, basically my goal is to help people find out some of Zen's favorite books, and I get this question a lot: where does Zen think that I should start? There's so much products on our stores, there's so many books, and where is a good place to start? So I'm going to ask Zen just a little bit about the book that he suggests always as the first book to start off with. So Zen, what do you have there?
This is the first book of the Great Contest trilogy. It's called The War in Heaven, and the reason I recommend this book for readers that are not familiar with my work and that are seeking a beginning place to better understand our products and all the information that, because there's a lot of it, that we provide through sacredwordpublishing.com, is that this particular book starts with The War in Heaven, which, in my opinion, this is where everything begins as far as the division of light and darkness, good and evil, right and wrong, and also what I term the great contest between the Holy Trinity, the Godhead, and Satan and Legion. Because it was when Christ was introduced as the light in the very first 3 verses of Genesis chapter 1 that iniquity was found within Lucifer, and that he decided to rebel against the Most High and to want to try to overthrow Christ in being like the Most High. As it says in Isaiah 14, he says that I will exalt myself above the stars, the clouds of God, and establish his throne in the sides of the north above the mount of the congregation. And so this will set the whole promise for why it is that we now find ourselves in flesh form, and also why it is that he decided to take revenge against Adam and Eve and to cause their fall, and in that consequentially place humanity under his authority, because he has been given temporary reign over the earth and this fallen world, and us as now being humans and immortal bright nature beings caught up in flesh form, that we are also in a fallen state of being. And this also sets the premise for the next book of the Great Contest, called The Enmity Between the Seedlines, and it is the setup for why it is that we see the war between these two particular bloodlines playing out between what it says in Genesis 3:15 as the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. And for those that are familiar with my work, you know that I explained that what occurred in the garden with Eve being beguiled to eat the fruit from the tree of the knowledge good and evil, that has sexual undertones, and it's connected to her being wholly seduced by the serpent. And this is why it says in 1 John chapter 3 verse 12 that Cain was of that wicked one. And so this began the war, the enmity between the bloodlines, and Cain killed his half-brother Abel. And then Seth, whose name means compensation, replacement, and substitution, was born of Adam and Eve, and it is through him that Adam's progeny and bloodline is continued. And this is also why you see in Genesis chapter 4 and Genesis chapter 5, Cain's lineage is separated from that of Adam's, which is detailed. The first 10 generations of Cain are listed in Genesis chapter 4, and the 10 generations of Adam are listed in Genesis chapter 5. And this war plays out all throughout time. Christ alludes to this in Matthew 13 when he speaks about the parable of the kingdom. And he tells us the story of the enemy that snuck into the garden that sowed the tares. And then the angels ask him, do you want us to gather the tares? He says, let both grow together till the time of the end. And so it will be when he returns again in Second Advent that the war, and that began with the War in Heaven, which is this particular book, and continues with this book the enmity between the seedlines, and that the war is now here on the earth and not in the heavens. This war will be finished, completed at the Battle of Armageddon, and then the harvest, the separation of the wheat and the tares, the goat and the sheep, as listed in Matthew 25. That these two books, and I'm working on the third book of the trilogy after the book I'm working on right now, called The Ancient Prophecies of Christ. But these three books will help explain the beginning as far as the war in heaven, all the way to the Battle of Armageddon, and what is the enmity between these two bloodlines as it plays out throughout all of history, even to what we are dealing with now as being the final, the fig tree generation, with humanity against the New World Order elites. And so it helps to explain why it is that all of the presidents and all of the royal families sitting on the thrones of the world are all connected to one bloodline. And so this will help people to understand the bigger picture.
Awesome. Thank you, Zen. And one more thing that I would like to mention is one of the big differentiators for us is the big font, which I know Zen talks about a lot, but it really is much bigger than most books, because we do start always with 14-point font. Is that correct?
Yes. Absolutely.
And so if you have any questions for us about the Great Contest 1 and 2, feel free to reach out and you can reply to this email. But thank you so much for joining us today and for the first, I guess, episode of our product review series. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and shalom.
Shalom. God bless all.
God bless.